Welcome to Bed Crime Stories podcast. I'm your host, T. If you like all things true crime, if you like it delivered in a peaceful, tranquil manner, if you like it clear and concise without drama, then I highly recommend you subscribe. And if you like what you hear, please smash the like button. It's a free way you can help. And now, without further ado, let's dig in. Hi guys, T here. Very tired T, but I wanted to get this out to you. It is not going to be polished, but I think you will be very interested in the info. I want to share what Jennifer Soto's roommate, Angelica, had to say about her time living in the townhome with Jennifer, with Maddie, and with Stephan Sterns. Okay, so Angelica lived in the townhome for 2 years. Her bedroom was upstairs and it was across the hall from the notorious room number 4 where Stephan Sterns spent the last night of Maddie's life with her. Angelica primarily speaks Spanish, so she had to have a translator. To be as efficient as possible, I am going to just share the translations. I'm not going to share all the Spanish speaking. Angelica's last name is Negre. She was born in May of 1991. Angelica said that she knew Stephan for 2 years at this point. She was being interviewed on February 29th, so 3 days after Maddie was reported missing and before Madeline's body was found. She said that when she first met Stephan and Jenn, they were arguing a lot in the beginning about normal couple stuff. She was asked if Jenn ever spoke to her about her intimate relationship with Stephan, and she replied no. She did say, however, within the last 6 months that Jenn told her that she and Stephan did not have an intimate life together at that point. When asked about the relationship between Stephan and Maddie, Angelica said that they were very close, and it did seem like he was acting as a father figure to Maddie. When asked what she heard on Sunday night into Monday morning, she said that she heard the noises of someone moving around, moving things around within room number 4. However, she did not hear Maddie speak, nor did she hear Stephan speak, no voices. She said she didn't hear anything out of the ordinary. It just sounded like somebody was putting something on top of something, like maybe a cell phone on top of a dresser. She said that she saw Stephan at that time in the kitchen, but later she clarified that she saw him more toward the time of 10:30, which makes sense because he was out running around that morning. And I believe that he was back at the townhome by 10:18 a.m. and he spoke to Jenn Soto at that time. And I do believe that she was out getting her blood work done. So they spoke over the phone. He called her. So again, she says she woke up at 9:30. She went downstairs to the kitchen. She made herself breakfast. And she saw Stephan down there. At first, she makes it sound like he was there at 9:30. Later, she says 10:30 a.m. And then when she went down to make herself lunch, he was still there. And this lady described Stephan as going up and down the stairs and in and out of the apartment. So he was a very busy beaver that morning. She also said that he did laundry, which was highly unusual because she never saw him do laundry there before this. So was he worried about bodily fluids on the clothing? Was there blood? Why was he doing laundry? I would assume he was washing both clothing and probably sheets and bedding. I get the feeling that Stephan Sterns did more work on that Monday morning than he'd ever done in his entire life. And I am picturing him sweating and being rather frantic and frenetic. Probably burned a ton of calories. When asked if he was acting like he always acted, she said no, he was different that morning. And here is something that will chill you to the bone. She saw 3 tools on the table, and they didn't specify what table, but I'm imagining it was probably the kitchen table. And one of the tools was a hammer. What in the hell was he doing with a hammer? Remember, Maddie died because somebody put their hands on her neck, if you know what I mean. Was he trying to smash hard drives? Was he smashing an extra cell phone? What was he doing with that hammer? Did he use it to threaten Maddie? Did he have it out on the table because he was going to take it somewhere when he left with Maddie in the car? You know, it's possible he wasn't using it at the townhome, but he was planning to use it elsewhere. She also said that when she was awake, she heard somebody using a tool, and she made like a humming sound, so I think it was a power tool. I honestly don't think that Stephan Sterns was doing any like Jeffrey Dahmer type moves, if you remember that case. She said she didn't know what he was doing once he left the apartment, but I'm wondering if he was running back and forth to those dumpsters / trash compactors where he threw Maddie's backpack, which had her laptop in it. There was also one white crock found in there, I believe. When asked if she ever really talked to Stephan, she said no. The only thing we ever said was like, good morning, good afternoon, bye, hi, things like that. I don't picture Stephan being a highly social animal, and I don't think he speaks Spanish either. Now, she left to go to work at 4 p.m. I think she left around 3:30 p.m. That's Angelica. And she said she got home at 11 p.m. She also said that Jenn got home at 11:30 p.m., which is different from what Jenn has said. Jenn has said that she arrived home at 11. But of course, Angelica could be off by a half hour. It's also possible that Jenn is off by a certain amount of time. But we do know that Jenn sent a text to Stephan at 11:30 p.m. Sunday night saying it's time for Maddie to go to bed now, or make sure Maddie goes to bed now. Angelica also stated that Jenn took medication and that when she took it, it knocked her out so that she slept very heavy. And Angelica did not see Maddie on Monday, and she didn't talk about Maddie to Jenn or Stephan, at least that morning and afternoon. Now, when Jenn returned from the middle school and Angelica was still home, she said, "Angelica, come down here. I need to talk to you." And she told her that Maddie was missing. Now remember, Jenn left really early to go pick up Maddie because she wanted to be first in line at the middle school. I think she said she left around 2:30, so she probably would have been home maybe around 3:30. When Maddie didn't come out of the school, eventually Jenn left because she was first in line and she was sort of keeping the other parents from moving forward. When asked what Jenn was like at that point, she said she was crying, she was desperate. You know, and Angelica said she never noticed anything between Stephan and Maddie that was inappropriate, which would sort of support Jenn possibly not being aware of this, and Stephan being really good at lying and hiding things. We also don't know exactly what he said to Maddie to keep her quiet, and I always think of the Stockholm Syndrome, where people who are being held captive in some way over time develop a bond with their captors. And I think that's what happened with Maddie. Her activities with Stephan probably seemed normal to her after a while. And she may not have even realized how inappropriate they were. And it's likely that Stephan manipulated her into not telling anybody. When asked what Stephan was like after Maddie didn't come out of the school and was presumably missing, she said he was crying, but also weirdly calm. Angelica said, looking back, she said if she were a parent, she believes her emotions would be a lot different from what she saw in Stephan. When asked what size the hammer was, the detective went back to the hammer. He wanted to know how big it was. She then said that the tools appeared small and they didn't appear to be electric, so I'm a little confused about the power tool. The way she described the hammer as being rather small reminds me of how Jenn Soto described Stephan Sterns' personal parts, if you know what I mean. Just a little humor to lighten the mood here. It's pretty dark. Angelica said that when Jenn came in after she knew that Maddie was missing and she noticed the tools on the table, she asked Stephan, "What are these tools doing here?" And Stephan replied, "I was finishing up a project." I feel like everything Stephan Sterns says has a grain of truth in it. It's not the full truth, but he includes like a little bit of truth. And I think he sort of gets a kick out of this. It's like the way he said that Maddie was sleeping all the way to school, or the way he told the police she only knew love in this house. Yeah, love to him sounds like SA. And Angelica said she'd never seen those tools before. Maybe he used those tools to make his little figurines for his little games that he played. Angelica said that she worked on Tuesday, so the day after Maddie was reported missing, and she began work at noon. And when she left for work, Jenn and Stephan were still at the townhome. Angelica said that on Tuesday morning, Jenn looked like she'd been crying all night, and Angelica said to her, "Please call me if you find anything out." Angelica confirmed that Maddie had her own cell phone, but Angelica said that Maddie was not on the phone all the time like a lot of other teenagers. She spent more time on her computer. She said, on the other hand, Jenn and Stephan were always on their phones. But apparently Jenn did not tell Angelica anything. She didn't share any updates with her. And Angelica confirmed that the other female roommate was indeed home as well on Sunday night. And apparently that other roommate has a son who is autistic. Angelica said that she doesn't think that Natalie, the other roommate, had a boyfriend. And Natalie's son is either 7 or 8 years old. And by the way, Angelica does have a boyfriend. Then the detective switched to a very sensitive topic, and he had to let her know that he believed that Stephan had filmed her under her bedroom door. The detective said that there were some videos, and then he showed her a photo, and he asked her to confirm if it was indeed her. And she said yes, and she got very upset. And he said, "Oh, don't worry, we are going to be charging him for this, and we believe he's going to prison for a very long time. Good riddance, POS." This lady says, "Oh my God," when she sees the photo of herself, and she breaks down crying. I wonder just how many victims are still out there and they don't know it. How many women did he film or photograph without their knowledge, and little kids as well. And Angelica asked if the photos that Stephan took of her, were they all in one day, or did he do this on multiple days? And the detective said it was all done on one day. And he did all this in 3 to 4 minutes, meaning Stephan took the photos and the video in 3 to 4 minutes. I'm thinking maybe her back was turned to the door and that's why she didn't notice the phone coming under the door. And Angelica made it very clear she does want to press charges. All I can say is thank God this guy is in jail right now, because guys like that don't ever change. I've heard psychologists say that they can't undo this. They can't get rid of their proclivities. Maybe removing certain parts of their anatomy might help. Again, just a little humor, dark humor, but trying to lighten the mood a little. Angelica then asked, does Jenn know that Stephan was filming her, meaning Angelica? And the detective said no. And the detective said, I'm not going to tell her. He said to Angelica, what you decide to do is up to you. I think they handled her with a lot of grace, and I think she took the info with a lot of grace as well. The cops also said that those photos would only be used in the investigation. They would not be shared with anybody who wasn't working on the investigation. God, can you imagine how humiliating that must have been for her to see? It's such a violation. And keep in mind that Maddie hadn't yet been found at this point, so they don't even know the full horror of this whole situation yet. Stephan's been arrested, but they don't have the body of Madeline yet. And Angelica told the officer that prior to seeing these photos, she would not have believed that Stephan would do something like this to Madeline, but now upon seeing them, she realized she was wrong about that. The officer then said to her, please don't discuss the chat that we had today with anybody. Don't discuss it. Don't share any details. The only thing it sounds like she could share is it was up to her if she wanted to tell Jenn that Stephan had photographed her. And that's the end of the first interview with Angelica. I think Stephan knew how to lie, how to pretend, how to put on a false front, and he was highly manipulative. Let me know what you think in the comments, and I'll see you next time on Bed Crime Stories. Time for bed. Night, night.